Hello, these are the Techy Thursday tech updates for last month, so October. We're now in November, and as we're just pointing out, it's soon be Christmas. So, first one we're going to look at, this is just from last month again. For those of you using Gemini, whether that is a paid Gemini SKU or whether you're using the free gemini.google.com, you've now got Gemini reports that will include user level usage, including apps usage insights. Is anyone using this report already? Nope.
Are there any Gemini users on? Oh.
I'm looking at trying to use it, but the reason why I'm here is to look at how it's going to be configured across the domain, because I was under the impression that Gemini was going to be for only over 18s, but I turned it on for everybody, and yeah, the kids could get access to it. So really, I just want to know how people got it set up in the organization.
Yeah, well, hold on to that question, Tim. Can we do that at the
end?
Yeah,
we'll do. Sure.
We will definitely come back to it. That's precisely why we're here, to do that kind of thing. So that's a really good question. So we'll cover that at the end if that's okay.
Yeah, and there's further updates about Gemini coming up.
Yeah.
Okay, so anyone who's doing DLP rules, data loss prevention rules, within your Google admin console, very, very useful. It used to be that you could only do it sort of for Google Drive sharing and for Google Chat. You can now do it for Gmail, and this is now in beta. So it's now instantaneous. So what you can do within Gmail, if you set a rule, so you set up the conditions for the rule to say if it contains this information, then within Gmail you can give them instantaneous warnings. So if a member of staff, for example, is sending personal identifiable information in an email, either internally or externally, you can warn the user and put your own custom message in there to say, be aware of our data security policies. Are you sure you want to send this? Verify that the people that you're sending it to are trusted. So it's just a very useful way of making sure that people don't make the old keyboard mistake of typing something in, putting in the wrong email address to send it. They think they're sending it to someone, they're actually sending it to someone else. And in these days of GDPR, of course, that's very important.
And sorry to cut across your attention, the customizable messages are really useful, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
The end user doesn't necessarily always know why it's been blocked. So a message from you in plain English to tell them why, I think is a really good thing. You got a question, Andy?
Yeah, no, it's just an add-in really on that. Just saying, key things like passport number, those types of things, really personal information you don't want to email out or have in a document you can use with DLPs. I think they're more and more used in business more than education.
They are used, Andy. They are used in education.
Yeah,
particularly the DLP rules. I know certainly colleges and universities will use DLP rules for things like text strings. So if they've got a specific project, their research project that is time sensitive, money sensitive, and they do not want that being shared outside of their domain, then they make heavy use of DLP rules to make sure that information is not spread further than it should be.
Yeah. I just think in probably business they're probably used a lot more. I'm a member of a group with like a business community, and they often use their DLPs, and it's one of the things that I'm thinking, on one of those days when I haven't got much to do, I could really do with looking at this, because I think there'll be some great benefits for the business if we did that.
Yeah, there's things like national insurance numbers, credit card numbers.
Yeah, passport numbers, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah, student ID numbers and things.
Yeah.
It seems to me, the other thing about the DLP rules, can't you set it so that the person gets warned that they're sharing out and they're still allowed to do it?
Yes. So you can,
I think, just remind them, this is sensitive, are you sure? Because the finance officer is going to be sharing financial information, but it's no harm in them being reminded. Are you certain it's going to the right people?
Yeah, exactly. And it's to prevent the what I call the organic risk between the keyboard and the chair. They might not necessarily realize that they've typed in the wrong email address before they hit send or before they hit share. So within the DLP rules, you can either block the sharing of it, you can quarantine it, you can warn the user, and now you can put in the customizable message to say, are you aware that you are sharing sensitive information? Please make sure that the person is a trusted person. And it's just like almost like a stopgap, isn't it? It's kind of like a stop. Are you sure you intended to do this? Because even school finance departments will need to share things like national insurance numbers and things like that amongst themselves, if not with local authorities and things like that. And it's just that warning to say, are you sure you're sending this to the right person?
Yeah.
Could you do it just on external emails anyway, outside the organisation?
Yeah, I mean,
just as a blanket, any email that's going outside the organisation, set it so that you are sending an email outside the organisation.
Well, you could theoretically, couldn't you, James? But that's a hell of a lot of emails, isn't it? Some people might get very bored with those.
Depends. I mean, I'm just thinking, unless can you turn it on for groups of users?
You can turn it on. You can turn it on for groups. You can turn it on for all users. You can turn it on for the entire domain.
Okay, that's interesting to know. Okay,
right. I'm
just thinking about.
Yeah, I don't know if you're looking
like teachers that maybe pick up a student's parent who's got the same surname as a staff member.
Yeah, and that's exactly
what on document sharing as well, Tim. So you can limit document sharing to be only on internal domain emails rather than anything external, or you can submit it to to be allowed to share a link and stuff like that. So you can play various tunes on Drive as well as the DLP rules within Gmail.
And you can also set it up within the section of the admin console. You can set it up to say what you want to be notified on. So you as an administrator could be notified if one of these DLP rules is triggered. And if you've got plus or standard, that's part of the security center as well. It will tell you within the dashboard how many DLP rules have been activated, and you'll be able to drill down to find out, even if you haven't had notifications, if you've got a certain rule set up because you don't want to be notified about this particular rule, but you do want to be notified about this particular rule, within the security center, you'll be able to see that on the dashboard. Right, this next thing is anyone who's using sort of like label manager within Google Drive to sort of like label specific things, where you've got the option list field is now in two separate field types so that you can basically make it more customizable when it comes to labels. I don't know if anyone's using labels within Drive, but you now have the ability to have two separate field types. This next one is within chat, and it's just basically improved widgets so that you can sort of like within the chat function, as you can see on the little thing there, you can assign certain things within chat to certain people, assign them to yourselves, add comments to chats, things like that. This next one is from an admin point of view, not from a Meet host point of view. So from an admin point of view, you can now, with Teaching and Learning and Education Plus, you can turn on within the admin console that meets are transcribed, recorded, and notes are taken by default. So that means that any meet that you set up within your calendar will automatically be transcribed, recorded, and notes taken. However, Meet hosts and co-hosts can turn those off. So for example, if you set it as a default to always record, but you want to have a meet that you don't need to have recorded, then the Meet host or the co-host can turn those settings off within their own calendar. But the Gemini notes, I had a meeting the other day where we used Gemini notes. Absolutely incredible. And if, having been a school governor myself, you wouldn't need a clerk to the governors if you were using Gemini notes, because it will transcribe the entire meeting, exactly who said what when and what they said. So it's really, really useful. And if you haven't used it, I suggest you do use it, and then you'll be blown away. This next one is for chat space. So this is from an admin point of view, where you can, as you can see there, the breadcrumb trail, Google Chat, manage spaces, select a space, space settings, and then you can generate an email within that chat space to go to all of the members or just space managers. So depending on if you need to send out an email to everyone within the group, you can do it via the admin console. This next one is using Google BigQuery. So within the data integrations part of within reporting within the admin console, within data integrations, you can turn on to enable drive inventory report export to BigQuery, and it will follow the rules as it says there of depending on which data region you've put your domain in. So you then as an admin will be able to get a report. They'll show you, as it says, the email address of the file creator, which OU file it belongs to, and the inherited permissions for shared drive items. So it's basically better sort of like oversight as to what is going on. And again, that's standard and plus only. This one is where they used to have the what they used to call the classic migration. They now have a new data migration part under data in the admin console to migrate users' emails from different Google workspaces or from, say, personal Gmail or something like that, or any other IMAP-enabled mail server. As you can see there, it states that if you are needing to migrate from Microsoft Exchange or Exchange Online, the Office 365 version, you would still need to use the classic migration service. But if it's Google to Google, you can now do it through the admin console. So this is one of the APIs. I don't know if many people use the Google APIs, but this one is now a security API. So it's a policy API. So this will basically give you an overview of all of your security and compliance using the API to look at things like, as it says there, authentication control such as account recovery, advanced protection program, login challenges, passwords. It will look at your security settings for chat, classroom, docs and drives, Gmail, groups, marketplace, meet, sites, and takeout. So if you do use that API, that's available now in open beta, which basically means you don't need to sign up for it. You can just use it. I said to you we'd be coming on to the Gemini, and this is the gemini.google.com. So this is the free one. The Gemini app is now a core service with the enterprise-grade data protection for more Google Workspace editions. So again, it's in Education Standard, and it's an Education Plus. Now, because it is now considered a core service, then it is covered by Google's service level agreement. So it's like Drive, like Gmail, like all of the core services. Gemini app is now a core service. This one is an American one again. Again, I said a few months ago, it will eventually come over to the UK, probably starting with Sims, I would imagine. But they're now looking at integration of management information systems, or student information systems, as they call them in America. So it now supports exporting missing and excused grades to your management information system, but currently only for those 5 American management information systems. But as they add
sorry, James, to go across you. I posted this in here, and then I went looking. There was a page that listed all the other student information systems that are currently in development. And I think when I announced the first of this, there were fewer American systems, and Sims was on the list. I currently can't find the page that put Sims on the list as in development. It's not that it might not be out there still, it's just I couldn't find it. So I do wonder whether the goalposts have changed with that one. I think Arbor was also on there, if I remember rightly. But I can't find the page that told me that list. So we either imagined it or goalposts have changed and perhaps they're not doing those integrations. I don't quite know what's going to happen.
I think you shared that page with me, Paul, many months ago.
Yeah, I know.
but I mean, it would make sense for certainly Arbor and maybe Broadcom,
Yeah.
because they're cloud-based. It would make an awful lot more sense for them to integrate the cloud-based ones first.
Yeah, absolutely. On that page, that's the link at the top of this slide that you'll get at the end. And there is a link for anyone that's interested in doing that integration. So any company can do that. We've actually sent it over to Wand, and whilst Wand aren't student information systems, I thought they might be interested to see how, because they sit in between those things, between your Google Workspace and a student information system, they might be interested in seeing if they can't integrate it into their product. So we've sent it to them. We do work with them, but I think it will happen, like James said, he's exactly right, but I think we might be a good way away from it. And I'm guessing most people on either Sims or Arbor. Are there any others that are being used?
Paul, I think the thing when you're talking about Wand's EduSync, Wand's EduSync is currently is like a one-way process. So it goes from management information to Google. Nothing goes from Google back to management information system.
All right.
So what this is saying is the Google Classroom, this is now looking at exporting back from Google, from the workspace, back into the management information system.
Yeah.
And Wand's EduSync currently doesn't do that. I don't think any of the sync tools do that. They only talk one way from the management information into Google. They don't go back and forth.
All right. Okay.
There is another MIS called Bromcom that a lot of schools use.
Yeah. We mentioned that earlier. Yeah. I think they're the three biggest. I think Sims is still probably the biggest, I guess. Arbor and Bromcom, I think, are about the biggest in this country.
I think Arbor's overtaken Bromcom now, I think.
Say again?
I think Arbor's overtaken Bromcom, I think. Just because it's a new boy on the block. Yeah, just
Yeah.
because it's the new boy on the block, but yeah.
Yeah. I think well, I don't know it very well, but what I've seen of Arbor, the user interface is a much friendlier interface, certainly than Sims. If anyone's still using Sims, I think Sims is just, it's a difficult interface to get your head around. That's my impression. Whereas Arbor seems a little bit easy. I mean, they're massive things, aren't they? They're going to be complicated. There's loads of data stored in there, isn't there? You know, all the information and things. But whether, but it's a much better interface, I think, much easier to use. Yeah, still on Sims. I remember Sims from many years ago. It was terrible.
Yeah, and I think the other thing about Sims, and someone correct me if I'm wrong here, but my understanding is they have stopped all development work on Sims.
Oh, right. That's interesting.
Yeah.
They did try to sell it about 4 years ago, didn't they? And
Yeah.
they got no takers.
Yeah, and that's why they stopped all development work, because they didn't want to put any more money into it.
That's not quite right. They did sell it to a company called ESS, and
did
they are developing the cloud-based version of it. So they're no longer developing the kind of the hosted or the on-prem version as much, but there is an online, as I think somebody just dropped in the chat there, there's Sims Online has been coming since about 2015. So I believe that when I see it, if there's still a going concern when it happens.
I was half right then, Dave, half right.
Yeah, it's better than not.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Not working in a school myself anymore. I don't keep up with that sort of stuff, but I did know that the old Sims had stopped being developed. Okay, so anyway, this another one. Context-aware access insights and recommendations are now generally available. Unfortunately, the image couldn't load, so I can't actually show you that, but you'll be able to find that within your admin console. And that is it. The next updates are 5th of December, 20 days before Christmas, and we look forward to seeing you there as well.
Excellent. Thanks very much for that, James. That's really good.
All
So,
right.
Tim, I kind of asked you to hold fire with your question until now. So, do you want to? Got a much bigger audience now. More people have joined us. Do you want to fire out that question again?
Yeah, sure. So obviously talking back to Gemini, we wanted to obviously enable it across the domain, and we didn't get the paid version, we got the free version. And I was under the impression that it was for over 18-year-olds. So when I went to go turn it on and test with the kids' account, I was like, oh, they can get to gemini.google.com. So my question to the group is, are you guys, are you literally going to enable it across the domain and then block it off for each OU? Or are you going to do it the other way around and disable it for the entire domain and then only allow specific OUs?
Anyone else want to take that one? Andy?
Yeah, I'm the same with you. It's I've just enabled that of the domain, and then I've removed the OUs for the students. So our staff are able to use that. I've done that with a couple of other apps as well. So it's AI app, so exclude that. So ChatGPT is another one of those where it's available at the domain level, and then I make it, block it for the student domains. But of course, students are still going to be using it on their own devices at home, and a whole host of probably 20 or 30 other things.
It's got to do what it could do, really.
Yeah. But it's good to see staff, starting to use that and think about some of their search terms and their prompts and the responses they get in that for their lesson planning. So slowly the penny's dropping about how they can use that for, exploring how to reduce some of their workload and simplify their tasks and their overall process. So yeah, the more people you can engage with on that, the better, really.
I think I saw a post. Was it last week? There's something coming with Gemini where they're going to drop the age-related setting down to 13.
I think I saw that as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I saw that.
It was Gemini Teens, isn't there? You want to say a bit about that, Chris? I presume is it a paid for service, Gemini Teens?
I'm not interested because it isn't. At the moment, look at Dave Leonard. I just want to see a reaction from Dave. It is something that you've got to get permission for, I believe, isn't it? From guardians and whatnot. Still in the early stages. I've not seen anything from a licensing perspective on that in terms of costs or anything else. I'm imagining at the moment it's going to work probably similar to Gemini.google.com, but I don't know. I'm not seeing that early stages at the moment. Obviously, if it's a paid service, Dave will be right there. You know that. But at the moment, I think it is just going through as a freebie. But we all know these things can and do change. Yeah.
Anyone using Gemini for Teens in their organisation?
Yeah, I know at the your C Learning event that you had in London, Anna said there, didn't she? We're working on it. It's in the pipeline for under 18s, and I've seen that brief come out. I think it's available in the US as a consideration. It's very much dependent on your data regions, I think, that you deploy, and obviously what data region and you're under in terms of, we're still under GDPR and the elements of that. Whether that changes in the future, I don't know. But at the moment, I've got that turned off for anybody who's under 18, and they can use that on their own devices. I think until we've really got a real good understanding in with the business team and the teaching team at school about the use of AI and how we're gonna. It's one of those other ones, and it's about like you safeguarding things. We need to be there to take the young people through this about how to use it responsibly and not just carte blanche, do a search and cut and paste it and submit it for the homework, but use it as a tool to generate them options that they can then have that as research information to be able to include in pieces of homework or coursework. So I think there's a lot more discussion to go on with under 18s.
That's a bit cynical, Andy. They would never do that. Copy and paste it for their homework.
No, I mean, none of us did that in our childhood, did we? None of us. So the best kid at maths in year 7 and snatched the homework book off them and copied it out.
Yeah, we had to rewrite it, didn't we? There was no cut and paste back then.
Or you bribed them with a bag of sweets to rewrite it for you.
Yeah, I guess the idea of this is like anything where if you keep students away from it, they're going to find ways to use it anyway, aren't they, Andy? Like you were saying. So I think to actually bring it in mainstream to the education sector and give them something they can use responsibly, it's probably I would see that as a positive. I don't think anyone on the call would be naive enough to think that kids aren't using AI at the moment in one form or another. So maybe pushing it out there, something that you may have a little bit more control over within your domain might be a positive, really. Yeah.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think the role of educators is there to engage with them and take young people through about how to use that responsibly. I mean, in their home life, the kids will be using it, creating CapCut AI videos and all sorts of stuff here, there, and everywhere on any platform they can get access to get stuff to put on TikTok or wherever. Snapchat, or what did you call it the other day, Dave? Tick
Snap
chat.
talk.
Snap talk.
Tick chat.
Yeah.
I think
They'll be experimenting, but within an education environment, we've got to be there to say, well, if we're going to make it available for them, this is how our guidance and how to use it responsibly. You know, like anything else. You know, like using a you know, something in a DT workshop. You don't just let them have a go at using a tool in there. You take them through how to use it responsibly. It's the same in Google searches, isn't it? You know, it's another tool. Don't just pick the first thing on the list. Look at it, use some of the date ranges, you know, have a look at the source of the data, all of those.
I think as well, any educator worth their salt would take a look at a piece of work and very quickly ascertain whether it was actually that pupil's piece of work or whether it had been copied. I mean, from my own personal experience, when I was teaching GCSE German, I had to sit down a year 11 because I sent them away to do a piece of German writing. And I came back and said to them, right, can you explain to me the rules around the German's future conditional tense?
Yeah.
Because it's not something we cover in GCSE. We only cover that in A level. And
Yeah.
of course they couldn't, and they just copied and pasted it from Google Translate and stuck it in the document as their homework. So most teachers will flag that up very quickly.
Yeah, it's having that feedback and that time to have the feedback, and I think that's where some of the benefits of AI, you know, really stand out for teachers, and if they can reduce the time that they're creating material for lessons and shift that to the other end where they can give some more personalized feedback, then you know that's going to be a much better way of using teachers' time and engaging students.
Can I ask an operational question about parental permissions? If all these additional services are going to require you to get parental permissions, how are people doing it? In my mind, I'm wondering if you tell them you need permission, and if they don't respond, we assume that's a yes. So they've actively got to tell you no rather than tell you yes. Does that mean you haven't got to go chasing all the responses?
How we do it at Sherwood High School or in our trust is that we put it in the agreement to say that any application that needs parental permission under 13-year-olds, we deem the fact that the teacher has vetted it. Otherwise, you're going to have to go out every time. So you might have in year 8, you might have half the class with access and half the class without because of the way the birthdays fall.
Yeah.
And there is also within the admin console, there's recently been a box. It's been there for quite a while now. That says confirm acknowledgement of parental consent requirement for the additional Google services turned on for users under 18. It will give you more information about the parental consent, and it will also within the admin console allow you to view your consent. So it will tell you it will tell you, for example, if it needs confirmation of consent or not, if you've got it turned on for users that are marked age-wise as being under 18. Would it help if I showed you that? Yes?
Yeah, please, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so here it says, this is in our demo domain. So here it says, confirm acknowledgement of parental consent requirements for the additional Google services for those under 18. You'll see here that I've got it on for some, applied digital skills, and it tells me the consent status here, and it needs confirmation. All right. So if I go back to my homepage, right at the top, right at the top here, it'll tell you what you need to know, learn more about parental consent. And that's how you follow the guidance on here. All right.
Great, thank you.
Could ask a general question there? How do schools generally get that parental consent? We, our leadership team are taking the approach where they say, within a general agreement we have with parents about how they use technology at school, that we will authorise those applications that we want the students to use. Therefore, we don't go back to them on every occasion.
That's normally what schools will do. They will have sort of an acceptable use policy between the student and the school, but they will also have, when a child, I remember from my time in schools, when children enter the school, then there is a document that goes to the parents that covers all eventualities when it comes to data and consent and use of technology, and the parents have to agree to that, so that you hit them once when they join the school, and you don't have to go back because they've already given consent.
It's sort of implied in loco parentis, isn't it?
Yeah, correct.
So you got that agreement there between the home and the school saying, we agree to authorise you under that in loco parentis to make sure that you're using the applications responsibly, and we don't need to keep going back to parents on every occasion. I just wondered if any schools do actually go back per application and say, we want to use X, Y, and Z.
Paul?
In my last school, and this might now be an archaic way of doing it because you might no longer have diaries that your kids have. I got the school to print the parents had to sign the diary every week. First week of the term, the first term of the year. And it was, yes, there was parent signature, but it was also, you agreed to, it was just the acceptable use of the internet policy, which was printed in the calendar, in the kids' diary. So they could read it there, and they said you are signing both to say you've seen your students' work this week and you agree to the school's terms and conditions. So if you have a printed diary still, I know it might be that you don't anymore to save some trees, which I would also support, but if you do, then you could adjust that, couldn't you, and have permissions in there at the beginning of the year. Doesn't solve it now, but it'll solve it for September, won't it? Which it always seems to be how much cooking you think. Anyone still have printed diaries for students? That's a no. Yeah.
We still have homework diaries. And then they're looking at using class charts and moving away from Google Classroom and all that stuff. So it's all a bit of a mishmash here at the moment.
Yeah. But I mean, it worked really well because we could see them, because parents had to sign. And generally, at the beginning of the years, they're very good at signing it.
Even back when I was a young one, I mean, I'm not talking like that long ago, but we used to forge just parent signatures. You know what I mean? So, yeah, there are ways around it still.
Yeah.
My son does that. They have diaries, and he the first time I saw it, bearing in mind we're in November now, and he's had it since September. I said to him, I said, well, don't I have to sign this every week for you? He said, no, don't worry, Dad, I just sign it for you.
He signed it as King Charles one week, the Archbishop of Canterbury the next. It's kind of not missed the point, hasn't he? So I did get a phone call, so I apologize. Tim, did you get an answer to your question?
Yes, I did. Thank you. Yes.
Excellent. Good.
Nick.
Thanks. I was just going to lament the loss of the homework diary. I mean, on the earlier point, we, because we're independent, we have a parent contract. So we just kind of tie everything up in that and say, if you want us to provide the education service, you've kind of got to agree to everything anyway. But then that doesn't really help anyone else on the call. But I think with the homework diary, one of the things that I miss about it is the fact that the parents got access to all the information that you're putting in there. Now that we've taken everything online, and I know this both as a parent of kids at a school that are predominantly using Google and as an IT director at a school that's predominantly using Google, actually we've kind of lost that engagement with the parents kind of in the native state of the information. I mean, we use a parent portal, but bringing that info in just really doesn't help. It would be lovely to know if Google actually have on the longer term roadmap some better kind of engagement with parents on this, so that things like consent can be sought, so they've actually got somewhere to go online in the same way that our kids and our teachers have, and say, have you given consent to this? But actually, things like Guardian summaries would fit so much more nicely in a portal than it would sort of coming in through an inbox, and the admin of that is awful. So it would be lovely if they existed with as entities within Google Workspace rather than just kind of on the real peripheries, which parents are at the moment. But I know you probably won't have an answer to that, but it's always something that I think about. It would be great to interact with parents better.
Yeah. Andy?
I was just going to ask, well, build on Nick's first point in there about the, demise of the sort of homework diary at school. We, since lockdown, really have used Classroom with a topic of homework. So it's clear what work on there for parents is homework and what work is other in-class work that they maybe just not finished, that the teachers ask them to complete. So homework is generally a separate topic. I take the point that, yeah, it's not as engaging as that sort of daily flow, particularly we're still using the junior school planner, and it has that communication between the class teacher and the child, and that, that's a handwritten document that goes. It's one of those again, isn't it? It's, if the I know Dave's one of saying, there are many tools in the toolbox and use the ones that's appropriate. Well, that works fine in a junior school where they have that engagement going to and fro with the parents and the child and the teacher. So leave it alone. In a seniors, year 11 and up to 11, we've taken the course of action of saying, well, we'll put it all on Google Classroom and have the Guardian summaries, which have improved a little bit now. They've slightly changed now to give access to the classroom, so the parents can actually see what the classroom assignment is for homework. So it is a little bit engaging, but I take your point, Nick, that it's one of a myriad of stuff, and instead of being in a portal, it's another thing for parents to look at. Whereas before, with that single homework diary or planner going home and back into school, it was maybe a bit more streamlined.
And a bit more two-way as well. Parents could write back in the planner, couldn't they? They can't really reply back via the Guardian summaries.
No.
Dave, did you want to say something?
Yeah, I think just picking up on that, I think the new version of the Guardian summaries only comes with the Plus licenses, does it? Or
Yeah,
the enhanced licenses? So that's just one thing to bear in mind. And just a response to Nick's suggestion, really, two things. One, hit that question mark and get it fed back to Google, which you'll hear all the time. And two, that sounds like a brilliant challenge to take to a Google Innovator Academy. So if you've got any kind of hope of or desire to pursue that, then yeah, take that along to get your application into next year's Innovator Academies and take that along, because that sounds like a fantastic challenge to dig deeper into.
Yeah, absolutely agree.
Be the change you want to see in the world, as Gandhi said.
Yeah. Pete, were you about to ask a question, or did you change your mind?
No, I was going to go a thumbs up. I hit the wrong one. There you go.
There we go. Excellent. Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, it wasn't until it was mentioned today. Yeah, Guardian summaries are great, but they're one way, aren't they? It's not proper communication. It's information giving, isn't it? That's the reality of it.
Yeah.
So yes, there's not that second route back. Theo?
You're on mute, Theo.
Sorry, I was just trying to get the camera on and also unmute myself. Just wanted to ask if any one of you guys uses context awareness, because I'm aware that there is a Gemini utility that is not compatible with the context awareness. Is one of you using any of the Gemini and context awareness? If so, how are you handling that at all?
There's a challenge.
Yeah, I'm afraid no. I haven't been. No.
Yeah. So basically, what it is, when you enable these Gemini plugin, it stops the context awareness working. So it just breaks all your security configuration and restrictions. So so I've stopped enabling that. So I'll check if anyone else is.
Is this the Gemini prompt or a Google Workspace Gemini license?
Is an add-on for Gemini that I'll share the link. I'll find the link and share in the chat. That basically, Google says that do not enable it if you're using the CAA. But yeah, no. So obviously, no one is using it. Must be just me. I'll share that, and then maybe that will make more sense when you see it. Is anyone else using Gemini on this group?
Only the free version for us.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, I think Nick is as well, aren't you, Nick, over there at yours?
Yeah, and Chris, you'll know better how many licenses I've got, but we've got a I don't know, a dozen or something nearly Gemini premium licenses, which we're just kind of experimenting with, really, to see what sort of operational efficiencies we can build in.
Okay.
Have you found any use out of the sort of usage dashboard yet, Nick, on that? Have you looked at that at all for Gemini?
No, I haven't, but every time we buy a license, I think, well, I really should be looking at that just to see what everyone's doing, because the chance of me now bumping into somebody and having the conversation are very slim. So yeah, it's on my action list for this meeting and for the last one of these as well. So I do need to get on and do that.
No worries.
Quite nice because it breaks it down by app now, so you get a bit more information, which is quite nice. Also tells you if someone's not using it, because it's a lot of money to be sat there and not being used. You can then have a conversation and say, if you don't, it's fine. You don't have to have it. Can I give it to someone else? You might have someone chomping at the bit to have a go. You never know. Excellent. Any other questions whilst you've got this august body of people of wisdom?
There's not enough beards.
Okay.
I'll stop the recording at that.
I can't grow
Carl and Melissa, could you